you my huckleberry?
I'm your Huckleberry. I'm Greg.
I'm Julie, and we're the Crafty Winers.
We are making fresh huckleberry lemonade today. These huckleberries came from a farmer's market in Boise, Idaho.
Yep.
And they were picked up in the wild in northern Idaho. So it doesn't get much fresher than this, other than we froze them.
We did freeze them.
Partly to get the juice out, and partly so that they didn't have to be used immediately.
Because huckleberries are not cheap.
No, it was like $100 for 4 pounds or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
So, but I think that they're going to be very worth it when we have this lemonade done. So this lemonade is a add-on to our base lemonade. You want to watch our base lemonade video. You'll end up with what we have here in this gallon jar. And it is a lemonade that's around 7% ABV. It has a pH of about 3.8, which is somewhat shelf stable. And that's it. If you taste this right now, it wouldn't be very tasty because it's a dry lemonade. It doesn't have concentrate added to it. So that's like the first thing we're going to do is add one 12-ounce can of thawed, normally frozen lemonade concentrate. And that's going to make it taste like hard lemonade. And it'll dilute it a little bit. It'll lower the ABV down to about 6.25 or something. But it'll make it taste much better and add some sweet.
Yes, it does taste much better.
Before I poured this in there, I meant to point out that there was sediment at the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that because we're going to cold crash this later. Cold crash means put it in the fridge close to freezing, which causes all the sediment that's in there to go to the bottom, and then we will rack it into another container and leave the sediment in here.
Right.
So I'm not at all concerned about the sediment.
Because we're just going to create more sediment.
We're creating more sediment in everything that we did. There was the pulp that was in the can that is now floating in here. But you can see some really big chunks floating, and that was what was already in here from this sitting for the month or so that it's been sitting.
Yeah.
Actually, in this case, 2 months
Oh.
that this has been sitting. So a lot of the sediment went down to the bottom, and we normally would have want to rack it off of that.
And we will.
And we will.
After we get done with this.
So, as we said, these huckleberries are wild grown. They were probably picked in a state park, although they didn't specifically say that. That is in northern Idaho, where you typically are going to find huckleberries up on high elevation areas.
High altitude, and they allow you to go and just pick them.
Yeah.
Anybody can go up there and pick them, but they're tiny. They're teeny tiny. So that would be quite a day of picking berries.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the person that had to do it. And when I saw that we could buy them, I was like, okay, that saves us a trip. It also makes it so we don't have to do the work. But because these are wild grown, we don't know what they've touched or what's touched them. So
True.
Most people are going to probably use huckleberries, in baking or something. And when you bake them, you're going to be killing anything that's bad because of the heat.
Right.
So we pasteurized. She pasteurized, and I'll have her describe what she did.
So just to point out, there are different ways to pasteurize
We will
something.
have a video on pasteurization methods.
So what I did in a pinch, and huckleberries already had a lot of juice. I didn't want to lose any of that. So I put them in this bowl, and I put them in the microwave for increments of 30 seconds until I got it to be 180 degrees.
To pasteurize it, it needs to be 160. I think 162 is the typical measurement, but we would typically go for 165 or 170 for at least 15 seconds. That's the minimum high heat pasteurization method.
Which is why I took it to 180, so that it would have 15 seconds before it cooled down to,
And she did use a thermometer to make sure that it hit that temperature in the middle.
In the middle.
And on the sides. You do want...
I swirled it around.
There's two things you're after when you do that. For one, you don't want there to be any yeast that's alive that goes into this because it could start fermenting again. And then you want to kill any bacteria and any other bad things. I mean, you don't know that a moose didn't pee on the huckleberry bush right before it was picked. So, yes, they probably were washed.
I'm sure they
In our case, we washed them too, but they probably were washed before they were frozen. So...
And this is...
But the pasteurization will make sure that nothing is alive that's going to be bad for you.
And we took our big batch of 4 pounds of huckleberries and we split them into little batches. This is actually half a pound of huckleberries.
Right.
So what I'm going to do, well, first,
She's got an infuser. I'm going to move
I'm going to
this
smush them a little bit
to the
first.
side so you can see what else is going on.
So I'm going to use my potato masher to just smush them a little more, get a little more juice out, although there's already a lot of juice in here.
So freezing them and defrosting them breaks the cell walls down, which releases juice. Then microwaving them released juice.
A little more juice.
And now she's crushing them to release juice. So this is very juicy now, where it started off not very juicy. And that's good.
I don't know if anybody can see that it's juicy, but it is.
Well, you'll see when they're being poured into here.
That's true.
So we're going to use this infuser to keep the berries in, and we're going to let the juice go into the measuring cup to be poured into the jar. And this might be a little messy.
I'm just gonna. You can leave that in there. I'll just spoon it in, so I don't get it.
Much better idea.
Okay, well,
She wants the juice to end up.
there.
Well, the only thing that we're after here is we want the berries to be in the infuser.
Yes, the berries
And we don't
in the
want to lose
infuser.
the juice. The juice is obviously very juicy and very flavorful.
And any juice that falls into here, we will put into the lemonade, along with the infuser.
I've always been a little bit anti-pasteurization unless it's necessary because of the fact that I feel like it changes the flavor a little bit, cooks it a little bit. But the method that was used here and the other methods that we'll have in our video, I think, minimize that.
It does, yeah. You don't want to boil it for 2 minutes by any means.
A few berries getting out into the lemonade is not going to be the end of the world. You just don't want a lot because what will end up happening is they will float at the bottom or float someplace in here, and it may make it so you end up losing a little bit of juice to not bring them back out
I
with
think I
you.
got them all in there.
No more in there.
Nope. That's just juice now.
This has all been sanitized. My hands have been sanitized
My hands have been sanitized.
using Star Sand, and I'll link the video above. And it goes.
Woo!
It's gonna immediately change the color a little bit.
Look how it's swirling.
And I don't want to lose any of this juice,
No.
including in that, so I'm going to use a sucky thing, also known as a turkey baster.
Especially this juice.
This
For
is
the price it was.
expensive juice. So we don't know exactly how
This
much
is
flavor is
interesting.
going to come out of the juice and the berries.
This looks like one of those sand things. Where the different weights of sand shift with the colors. Look at it.
It is a little interesting.
It's really interesting.
So we have sugar-free huckleberry syrup that we're going to be able to use after this has had a chance with just berries
Oh, I did miss a couple berries.
that we will add. I'm going to dock your pay.
Uh-oh. Wait, am I supposed to be getting paid for this?
We're going to dock your volunteerism. We'll use the sugar-free huckleberry syrup after we let this spend at least 3 days in here and we get an idea of how much flavor we're getting, and if we
From
want
the
we want it to be a little bit sweeter. This is the first time that we've made this.
Huckleberries are tart, too.
You're going to be learning along with us.
Yep. We've done huckleberry cider.
Yes.
Just haven't done lemonade.
Huckleberry lemonade, we probably don't want it to be very sweet, but we'll know more later.
I know that huckleberries are tart in and of themselves, so it might need a little bit of sweetening, but the lemonade also did that too.
I'll link the infuser below. You don't need to use an infuser, but some way of capturing the berries so that they're not free floating in here is a good idea. It's going to save you a lot of trouble later when you're trying to get the juice back out. And then this fishing bobber is just a way of keeping it so that I've got a really easy way of getting the infuser back out.
Otherwise, it's a pain.
I'm going to stir this up just a little bit, although it's probably not necessary because of fluid dynamics and crap like that, you know.
Are you going to explain to us the fluid dynamics?
I might put it up in the description below.
So science lesson and recipe. This huckleberry is interesting with what it does.
It stays together.
Yeah, interesting.
So we are going to put this away for probably, it'll end up being 7 days, but probably in 3 days we will check it and taste it and see how it's coming along. So on my batch note, this is exactly 1 month from when lemonade was put into this container. So on my batch note, I'm going to make a note that we added how many ounces?
8 ounces, sorry, half a pound.
8 ounces of pasteurized huckleberries and infuser. And then we also added 12 ounces of lemonade concentrate. And then I'm going to write on here next. Today is the 22nd of November. So on the 25th of November,
we get to taste it.
We get to taste it. And we're not expecting it to be done. It's most likely going to be 6 or 7 days before it's done based on experience. But
yeah, usually.
We are doing this for the first time with huckleberries, so if it seems like it has plenty of flavor in 3, we might go ahead and pull the infuser out at that point.
Yeah.
We will see you in 7 days when we do our recording next week.
Alrighty, we're back. It's been a little longer than we intended because of life, but it's been 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks since we removed the huckleberries that were in here. And it's been sitting ever since.
There's a cloud of sediment down at the bottom. And
yeah, there is.
And the lemonade is super clear. So we could put our flavoring in here and mix it all back up in there again, but it seems like a pity because it's all separated out right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and rack this again, even though we don't necessarily have to. We could stir all that stuff back in it, and then it'll cold crash out, because we're going to cold crash this again anyway.
Yeah, true.
But it just seems... It went to so much work to get that sediment down to the bottom. We hate to stir it
It's
up.
very pretty and clear.
And it just takes a minute to rack it. So we'll do that silently so that we can speed right through it. So what we got here in our new wide mouth jug is still pretty clear.
Yep.
A little bit of it got sucked up, but very, very little. So, and what got left in here is gross. So sometimes it makes sense to rack it multiple times, and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it did. So we're going to clear this off, and we'll continue. Okay, so we probably want to take a taste of this just to get an idea where we're at. We know probably that we're going to put at least 2 ounces of syrup in it, but don't want to get hasty. We're drinking blueberry cider, which will be a little different than what this is going to taste like.
Huckleberry lemonade? A little bit. It smells good. That is interesting.
Interesting isn't always a good thing from her.
No, I mean, it tastes like... It's got the lemonade flavor back there. Huckleberry's not real strong.
Mm-mm. So we have put the 12 ounces of lemonade concentrate. It's been almost a month since we did that. So it does have the lemonade concentrate, which is why we can taste the lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a flavor I'm not really fond of that's in this that probably will get hidden by the syrup.
It's probably from the actual fruit of the huckleberries, but I don't know.
Probably. We left it in there.
We left it in there for, 3 days or something? And then we tasted it, I think.
No, it was in there for more than... And I mean, generally my rule is that I don't want to leave it in there more than 6 or so days. And we had it in there for 30 days in November, so we had it in there for 9 days. So that actually might... And I think we were out of town on the day that it should have come out, so it was in there a couple more days than we like.
Maybe. Yeah.
And that could be where the flavor's coming from, but I think the syrup will probably fix it. So 2 ounces probably.
Yeah.
That's what we normally start with.
Here, give me the batch notes so I can write on it. Okay. And we are using Da Vinci, right?
Sometimes you get, it's hard to describe, maybe a musty or melony flavor from fruit when it's been in too long.
Melanie, you're stuck on that melon, aren't you, after the watermelon?
That's kind of what it tastes like to me. It's that cantaloupe taste.
I don't get that, but it does need more flavor for sure. I don't, huckleberries are kind of sour on their own.
We're using huckleberry sugar-free syrup. Doesn't need to be sugar-free syrup at this point. It could be sugared syrup because we did put potassium sorbate in here, so it's not going to start fermenting again. But keep that in mind that if you have not added sorbate, you don't want to add anything that's fermentable to this at this point, or you'll have to keep it in the refrigerator for the rest of its lifetime. Okay, so this is 2 ounces of syrup. Make sure I get all of it out. I'm going to stir it up, see how it tastes. This is warm too right now.
True.
And lemonade is better cold. So
That almost might be enough. I don't want to get too carried away because it'll get overly sweet.
I can handle it where it is now.
I don't know that 1 ounce maybe might not hurt it, but I think 2 might be overboard.
So this is going to take it up to a total of 3. And you can do 100 batches of this. And every one could be just a little bit different because this is homebrew. Nothing is exact as what a commercial facility would make. So what we've done in the past, I believe, on this recipe is 2, but because there's a little variance in, how much lemonade flavor or whatever, I think this probably flavor from having the fruit in there too long, it could use a little more. So, and the carbonation adds, the CO2 adds a little bitterness.
That's true.
Makes some of the sweet go away. And a lot of times it makes some of the other flavors kind of mute. So it's usually smarter to start with something that's a little more than what you might think because the carbonation will take some of it away.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good level.
Where did we leave our pH?
Let's see if I can read your writing.
Good luck.
pH.
Doctors have nothing on me.
No kidding. Okay, well, it's not standing out to me.
The last time the pH was measured was when I racked it, or when we racked it. And it was 3.9 with a question mark afterwards. Not sure why there's a question mark afterwards, but let's go ahead and check our pH again. When I start editing this and see the footage from a month ago, I'll remember why I had a question mark after it, and I can explain in text. But right now, I don't know. Like she said, that may have been our old pH meter, and it did have some issues there at the end. So
Yeah.
we want this pH to be at 3.8 or lower, and with the lemonade, it can be quite a bit lower, but we will do it to taste. If it doesn't feel like it needs more, in this case citric acid, we won't add more citric acid, but the pH is 3.73.
Okay.
So from a preservation standpoint, it's fine.
Good.
So if you don't think a little more zing will add to the flavor, then I think we'll call it good.
I don't think so because, like you said, the carbonation's going to add a little bit more
Gonna add some bitterness.
bitterness to it too.
So if you, watching from home, want a little bit more zing to it, citric acid is what you're going to want to add. And if I was going to add any, I probably would add either a quarter or a half a teaspoon of citric acid, and that should take the pH down to about 3.5 or so. And I would be inclined, if she didn't say that she thought it was good the way that it is, I probably would want to add that. But
Oh, we can try it. I mean, it is lemonade, so lemonade's supposed to be kind of tart.
okay, well let's do it. It just takes a minute. This is one of the only things we will ever do on camera that you'll ever see us put citric acid into. A lemonade is about all that we're going to put citric into. So
Yes.
we've had some bad luck with wines that we kind of liked that we didn't like at all after we put citric acid in them. So
Yeah.
citric acid in wine is almost never a good idea.
No, it makes it bitter. So you think half?
I think half. but you can shoot me if I'm wrong, and I won't
Don't
report
ruin
you.
my lemonade.
We've had, like, this lemonade started. Look at the batch note. This is Simply Lemonade. It started at
4 point.
no, it didn't. No, that's after I adjusted.
Oh no,
It
6
was-
point.
No,
What was it?
it's not on the batch note because I knew I knew how much I needed to adjust it. Simply is less than a 3 pH to start with. It's very, very acidic. So
Oh, I see. Yeah,
I already knew how much because this is like the 10th time I've made it.
we
I just don't
added
recall what the initial pH is before I added a lot
2
of
1/4 teaspoons.
2 1/4 teaspoons potassium bicarbonate to get it
Yeah.
up to 4. But yeah, it starts at less than the 3 pH, which is very acidic. So getting this down to about 3.5 will be. I think you'll like it better, but I could be wrong.
It might give me heartburn more easily, but we'll see.
Anything that we want to adjust, now is the time to do it, because you can't do anything to it once it's been carbonated. It goes into your bottles. So
Yep.
I like the smell of it.
I do too. And the color. I like the color.
Okay, now she'll tell me if I was right or wrong, and then I'll take the pH.
I don't dislike it this way. I didn't dislike it the other way. Some kind of neutral on it.
I like it better now, but just barely. So our new pH is 3.65. So when you're going down, you have to add a lot more acid than you would have to add potassium bicarbonate going up. So logarithm. I never can get it out the first time. Logarithmic scale of
Logarithmic
pH.
scale. Yeah.
So this is good. So now we are it's going to go into the fridge and cold crash, even though it really technically probably doesn't need it. But we're not in a huge hurry, so it'll go in the fridge for 3 days. And there will be some sediment that ends up floating down to the bottom again, although I think it's going to be very little. And then we will rack this from here into our carbonator and force carbonate it. So the next time you see us will be when it's in
A finished product.
bottles, like this is. So we will see you then. So a whole month has gone by,
Yep.
and I finally got this carbonated. We've been busy
Well, you know, Christmas
on Christmas and New Year's.
and New Year's. Pretty color.
It's very fizzy.
Smells. Yeah, it smells like the berries.
You can smell it from here.
That's good. I like it.
It's a lot of flavor.
It does.
It's very huckleberry-y.
Huckleberry-y.
It's an adjective.
But yeah, it's
it's
good.
good.
And it's pretty color too.
It's a successful experiment. This is the first time we've made it because it's the first time we have come up with fresh huckleberries to use. You can use, and we did probably
Yeah.
a month ago.
We used a
used
little bit
syrup
of syrup
as well.
too. Yeah.
So you could skip the fresh fruit and just use syrup, but it probably wouldn't be quite so tasty
Probably not, but huckleberries are hard to find
unless you live in Idaho.
unless you live in Idaho or Washington and you go up to the really high elevations and pick them yourselves because
Right.
they're expensive if you buy them.
They were expensive.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it and give it a try. Let us know what you think. As always, please like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you very much for your support. And until next time, cheers!